Thank you, President Doug. It's always a special treat when one of our members is the Rotary speaker. John Stewart has a classification of law probate. He's been in Denver Rotary 12 years, and before that he was a Rotarian in Springfield, Illinois. He's a DRCF fellow. He's a Paul Harris fellow, and he's been very active in Rotary. He's been active on the Branch Rickey Committee for umpteen years, and he chaired the World Community Service Committee in 2009-2010, which is a big job. He's also a tour guide at 4 Mile Park, and we see him quite often out there. His first job when he came to Colorado was in mining, and he's always had a deep interest in mining history. While still practicing law, John decided to add a master's degree in history from the University of Colorado at Denver. And his thesis for that degree was something that led to a book on Thomas Walsh, the mining millionaire Thomas Walsh. So he's an author as well. He has a great interest in history, and I think he'll bring a very interesting topic to us today. Welcome, John.
The history of mining in Colorado, a great mining state, and I've got about slightly under 20 minutes to tell it to you, so I'd better talk fast. I have my own quiz. Quickly, who can tell me who first discovered gold in Colorado? Well, I'll give you the answer since we got to move along here. The name of the discoverer of gold of Colorado was a Spaniard named Don Juan Maria de Rivera, and the year was 1765. And Don Juan led an expedition that went through the San Juan Mountains as far north as the Gunnison River, and he brought back ore samples to Mexico City, and they were proven to have gold in them. Not enough to cause the Spaniards to have a big invasion of Colorado, but the location of the gold was probably somewhere not too far from our famous Crystal Mill that seems to always be our symbol of Colorado mining. There are other pre-boom discoveries of gold. Zebulon Pike tells us in 1806 that he met a man whose name is sometimes given as Purcell and sometimes Pursley, who told him that he found gold in the South Park. If you venture up to Arvada, you find Gold Strike Park, and it is where John Ralston in 1850, on the way to the bigger gold rush in California, found gold in what's now Arvada. But as always, the discoverer isn't necessarily the first. The discoverer is the one that had the best press releases. And in our case, that was men like Russell, who found gold in what's now Denver in 1858 and let the rest of the country know. And the rest of the country was in a panic. People were poor and out of jobs. They heard gold, and they headed west. This is a cartoon of the time, actually by the famous artist Albert Bierstadt. And you notice it says Pikes Peak. Of course, the gold rush was nowhere near Pikes Peak. You could see it off in the distance, but everybody thought of Pikes Peak. The people who came west were lucky if they had good wagons like this. They were so poor that many of them pushed their worldly belongings west in a wheelbarrow from someplace like Kansas City or Omaha. Now, the word got out, and brochures like this circulated throughout the eastern U.S., promising what you would find if you went to the gold fields, which, of course, was instant wealth. How you would get there, well, some of these even described the fine steamboat service that could take you all the way up the Platte River, all the way to Denver. So many people ended up being a little disappointed, but nevertheless, the word was out, and Denver became a boom town, and Colorado became a boom state. Now, before we make too much fun of this guy, is this anyone's great-grandfather? This was, the official title, as you can see, is 1859 Argonaut. And people looking a lot like this with a shovel were looking for gold in Denver, and they soon realized that Denver was nothing but a placer deposit of gold that had washed down from the mountains. So they headed up into the mountains, and before long, you could not call Central City a one-borough town. It was in this area that very rich gold was discovered, free gold sitting on the surface. You could just hack at it with a shovel, and you had some very valuable gold. Unfortunately, this stuff ran out. Another view of just how big Central City was in the 1860s. And when the free gold ran out, there was plenty more gold, but this gold was in mineral combinations. Also, the Civil War took its toll of miners who had to report back and fight in the war. Then, at the end of the war, this man arrived. This is Professor Nathaniel Hill of Brown University, a chemist. And Professor Hill said the only way this place is going to be profitable would be if we can establish smelting techniques. He looked around the world for a smelter that could smelt Colorado ores, and it was in Swansea, Wales. That's how far our gold had to go to be smelted in about 1865. Professor Hill went to Swansea, learned the techniques, realized they could be applied in Colorado, took them west and opened his first smelter in Black Hawk in 1868. He progressed through